Cheers to the Right Music channel. I'm Mike McWilliams. So glad to be here this evening with all of you. Thank you so much for taking the time tuning in to this live stream. Whether you do it live right now and get involved in the chat section, please do, or in the rerun down in the comments section. I'd love to hear from you. So thank you so much. Time is a valuable thing, and spending a little bit of yours with me is always going to be greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for doing so. So good to be here this evening. Yeah, guys. Usually start out while I wait for more people to show up. Hey, Scott, how you doing, brother? Good to have you here as always. While I wait for more people to show up here in the chat, I shall pontificate upon things that happened here recently. Um, you know, music in terms of music instruments. I made a decision to not import anything actually this December. So I think that December for me has proven to be not the best of months, and which you would think would be the obverse. You think it would be a great month for importing, but it is a nightmare logistically, price wise, all of these things. It's just a nightmare, and the shipping gets slowed down. The cost of importing things goes up. Actually, they kind of start going up in October even. And I just generally hang back. So I've got nothing, nada coming up in terms of new guitars. But what I am going to do, I decided, is do a best of what I thought were my 3 or 4 best guitars this year. We had quite a few come through, so I am going to shoot that video for that one. I will do. That's a good year-end recap of the best of the best that I had in this year. So you can look forward to that. So I kind of decided that today when I said, "Well, you're not bringing anything to unboxing video, so let's do that." So we shall do that this month instead. Mr. Watson, good to have you here. Ben, good to have you here as always. So good to have all you guys always supporting this channel, always here. Really good feeling to have such a great community behind me when I do these things, because there are days, I have to be honest with you, where I am, my brain is going in 70,000 different directions. Right now, I'm revamping some aspects of my businesses, I should say at this point. That's always fun. And that occupies a lot of my time and my thinking. But I said to myself around noon today, oh, it's Wednesday. And you don't have a script for tonight's live stream. And I said, well, I always like to go off of what's on my mind at the time. Scott says, Mike, shipping is a nightmare here on an island in the middle of the North Atlantic. Any weather and our ferry link doesn't sail. Yeah, there's islands like Ijima in Japan that are the same thing, man. Like they don't get if the ferry shuts down, they don't eat, and there's not a lot of stuff growing on that island. Um, bro, you look like Obama's younger brother or something. Okay, I'll take that. I guess younger is an improvement over looking like Obama. I can't look at it as a total, put down. In any case, yeah. So that I'm just gonna freeze out for December. It's a compliment. Thank you, Mo in 4462. By the way, welcome to the live stream. Just pulling your leg a little bit, I know. Glad to have you here and joining in the chat. Welcome, welcome. Welcome to you all, guys. Good to have everyone here. So good to have people watching, joining in this conversation tonight. So I had to write the script, and it's funny. I've had this lick, in my mind. I'll play this. See, can I do this? If anybody will recognize that, you'll recognize that as the time song 779311, that guitar lick. And I've had it. It's just some days, some things just play over and over and over in my mind. I think the reason that one popped up in my head is because unfortunately, we lost the drummer, guitarist, producer, Jelly Bean Johnson last week, the former drummer of the time. And I always loved his, his 16th note hi hat fills, which was a drum machine, but he could replicate those on stage. And I was always impressed with that and over that guitar lick. And it starts playing over and over and over. I'm walking the dog. Dan, you know, I'm trying to work on something, and it's what we call an earworm, an earworm. And I thought I would, not a heavy subject, but just I would use that as a springboard. That lick, and now I think if I talk about it, maybe it'll finally leave my head. Um, and talk about the psychology, the secret psychology of music, and how earworms are a real thing. I'm sure we have all had that, in our life. So let's talk about that a little bit. You know, major chords. Like just take a G major, right? Um, whenever I hear a G major, you know, which a lot of songs that I could start off. You Shook Me All Night Long starts off in G major. Peaceful Easy Feeling by the Eagles starts off in G major. It's a very sunshiny, optimistic kind of sound, major chords. A minor chord or a diminished chord, you know, they will cause introspection in the way that you perceive things in your mind. Um, Sometimes they'll have you rethinking your life choices depending upon what song you're listening to. And so this hijacks our nervous system like it owns the place, really. And, a chord can change you in an instant. A chord I've walked down the street and a chord of some song will go and it'll make me stop in my tracks. You know, I'm not saying it's going to turn you into a philosopher, eating cereal over your sink at 2 a.m. Or well, maybe it will. I don't know you personally, but it will affect you. It'll affect your mood. Whenever we're feeling down, what do? We turn on some music. We crank the music, crank some tunes, man. What does it say? Crank some music and pop some beers. It's just one of those things that controls us in a way. It controls us in a way. And I think that I want to talk about that. I want to talk about knowing that as a musician or as a songwriter, how you can use those or how you should be using that knowledge in order to make a little bit more depth to the statements that you're trying to make musically. Scott says, my buddy always says diminished chords remind him of train horns. And now I do too. I know. Yeah, man. Especially when you get that Doppler effect. As it goes by. Yeah. Dig that. So, you know, we had Amsterdam Music Week, Dance Week last month or so, whatever that was. And I observed that a simple rhythm can make a room full of people jump up and down. And the sound of the accordion will make a person feel like it's springtime, even in the dead of winter. As I was walking down to one of my clients' shops to deliver an invoice, I think I told you guys this a couple of weeks back, and there's this guy just walking down the street playing the accordion, and he was playing a Frank, no, a Nat King Cole song, "Autumn Leaves." And I was, in my business mode. It is an invoice, get this done, get this paid. But the minute I heard that da 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 through that accordion, it completely slowed me down and it changed me. Changed me. It really had that strong of an effect on, to the point where it put a smile on my face for the whole human race. Well, it's almost like being in love. And it's true. So tonight we're going to talk about how your brain reacts the way it does to music, even if you think you're in charge. And my spoiler to you to this on the spoiler on this one tonight is you're not. You're not at all. Well, welcome. Let's see. What do we got here? I'm on 7-7. Welcome to you. Um, Music is basically emotional time travel. I have discussed this before, how psychologists figured out a long time ago that we, as adults, tend to reach back to our adolescence at what they call infantilism, a stage of infantilism, when it comes to certain things, because as children they had such strong effects on us. For example, every Christmas, my father would play the Perry Como Christmas album. I'm not gonna lie. He would play the Perry Como Christmas album. If you want to, you can look it up on YouTube. They have the whole album there now on YouTube. But every Christmas when I was growing up, that is the album that I listened to, and I used to listen to those. And it's a very, very straddling the line between late 40s and early 50s in terms of its musical production. But even now, as an adult, when I hear that music, it puts me in the mood back in my house in front of the fireplace, big Christmas tree, Perry Como playing, smell of cooking in the oven, Christmas. And s- again, the psychologists, God bless them, not, have figured out that this infantilism really can be useful in terms of guiding consumers into buying things. Talk about Gibson guitars and how Gibson uses this psychology in order to try to get you that is playing off of nostalgia in order to buy Les Pauls, for example, depending upon who the signature artist is of the week. You know, you hear a song and suddenly you're 16 again. You know, first heartbreak, your first gig, first time you thought, I should totally start a band. And the first time you realized that, you know, you were in a good place, or it just, it's just a moment in time that some music somewhere was playing and it added to the overall picture. And we really do overestimate how much we remember. I'm getting older, and it's funnier. The older I'm getting, the more things of my youth that I'm starting to remember, little fragments of things that I thought I had forgotten and tucked away, but it's all there. Your brain stores entire chapters of life. And believe it or not, it stores a lot of it as soundtracks. That's how much, music has an influence on the psychology of the human brain. Play a folk song, play, play for me, like I said, I can only talk about things like heavy metal. First time I heard Sammy Hagar's heavy metal was watching the movie Heavy Metal at 13 years old with my mother, of all people, sitting next to me watching that particular movie. You guys know that story, but I'm taken back to Marina Del Rey movie theater back in 1980 and watching that movie, and it was the most rockinest song I had ever heard. And by the way, this was before I heard Back in Black. But when I heard that, dun, 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 I was just in love with rock music. And this really was one of those moments that I could look back musically, could say that that probably influenced me why I wanted to be a guitarist. A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. I believe it was Sammy Hagar's heavy metal. And, I mean, listen to that song. I mean, you guys are, without any kind of argument whatsoever, Sammy Hagar's heavy metal is probably one of the most rocking ass tunes that was ever written. I just have to say. And that sticks with you. And that stuck with me. Catch up here in the chat. Mike, in your opinion, how many chords or how deep down the chord rabbit hole should a guitarist be before they're around enough to sit in on a session? You should know all your basic chord shapes, and you should be able to play, you know, those chord shapes up and down the neck, depending upon like a C in different positions, for example. Outside of that, and outside of that, that's not even the most important thing. The most important thing is keeping time. You got to be able to keep time. But if you can, you know, unless they're having you read charts, which you sometimes they don't, they want you to play a part or something, and then just, and then that flows into your creativity. So that comes into how creative you are. And that's independent of how many chords you know. I know guys that don't know a lot of chords at all, but like Smokey Robinson, he didn't know a lot of chords, but he wrote some of the best. He had three chords, but he wrote some great songs with those three chords. So it just depends upon the session and the situation. Hi from Russia. Yes, I saw that. I kind of figured that 7-7. Thank you so much. Hi to you too. And my Joe Wash's music is not mentioned enough. Yeah, I agree. Also, Fire and Water by Free is underrated. I agree. Um, Fire and Water. If you go on YouTube, you can watch them perform Fire, Water, and then All Right Now. I think all in the same set. And and they both hold up. So yeah, I agree with that. They both hold up. Radio. By the way, thanks for chiming in. Good to have you here in the live stream. Um, Earworms, Sweet Child of Mine, Desperado, uh, you know, I Want to Be Your Lover. All of these songs, they'll loop in your head. Or at some point you'll get an earworm. You'll get a song that just plays over and over. I hate to admit this, with me, not only was it that 7-7, but the other one that's been playing in my mind because I've been, as I told you guys, I'm watching Beverly Hills 90210. I never watched that TV show before, so I'm going through all the seasons. And that cheesy guitar, na 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 na, that 80s guitar sound, and then I'll hear that in my head, that whole arrangement, because music sticks to my brain. That's one of the good things and the bad things about being so deep in composition in most of your life, because you're always sucking stuff in, and sometimes you don't want. You wish you could filter it out. But earworms really are a real thing. You know, the brain is pretty lazy. The brain loves repetition and rhythm. Just enough variation to keep it interesting, but not much. So it doesn't need the whole song. It'll just need maybe 4 bars, maybe 8 bars of something, and it'll work with that. Trust me. And that's why charted songs, getting back to music production, they kind of figured this out. Um, and then they figured out that, of course, as I said, with depending upon the chords, the key, the emotional excitement that you get out of the rhythm section or not, really determines a hit song structure, so to speak. And they knew these things, but back in the day, and I'm dating myself, they would structure these songs with that in mind, but the production, the depth of the production would be there'd be variations, or there'd be counter melodies or things of that nature, in order just to keep it interesting. But nowadays they've dumbed it down, and they've really simplified it down to just a predictable chord progression. I think Rick Beato, when he when he goes through his top four or top 40, top 10 or whatever, where he sits with his guitar and goes through it and kind of critiques each song. And I think you see that this predictable chord progressions, the same tempo range, the same, you know, as I call it, a drop and fill formula. And the endless oohs and kind of vocal fillers and stuff that you get these days. Not, and not to mention a lot of auto tune. They've really stripped it down to the basics. And in my opinion, showing the intellectual level, maybe that's one excuse, the intellectual level of the people who are writing it, or even more diabolical, knowing that this adds to a kind of mental decay. Uh, one guy famously said that you're only as smart as the type of entertainment that you take in. And if you're sitting there listening to, you know, drill rap or any of that southern rap where it basically has the tempo and the arrangement of a nursery rhyme and no deeper than that, then you know your brain is just there's really nothing there for, and the brain is lazy, as I said. So there's just really nothing there stimulating, and you kind of become numb in a way, I think, mesmerized, hypnotized, and in not a positive way either. And the psychology backs that up. And as I said, I don't know if they do this because the level of the guys who are writing the stuff is not so great, the education level or something, or it's diabolical and it's done on purpose. But it's one of the two. And this is the main point of tonight's discussion that I wanted to bring up, because I wanted to point out that danger that you, again, I've said this quote before about you're only as smart as the level of entertainment that you take in. And I'll say entertainment. This guy said music, but I'll say entertainment in general. There's just some things that you've got to be careful with, because I said the brain is lazy, and you want it to work at least in its laziness with the best material that you can put in front of it. Um, love. I listen to. That's why there's some music that I will not. More important than what I do listen to is what I don't listen to, what I refuse to take in. But I refuse. I absolutely, I turn it off. And I hate to say it, but it's generally 100% rap music. I won't listen to it because I think that there's something there that's not good, and a lot of people are turning off from it as well. But this predictable chord progressions, the same tempo range, this build and drop formula, this endless repetitive fillers that sound like everybody else's. This construction is the fast food of music. We live in the fast food era of music. It's tasty, it's addictive, but you're hungry again an hour later. It's like eating Chinese food. You know, and that's the truth of it. And none of it is very memorable either. I'd like for anybody, watching here in the chat, tell me of one song, let's just say in the last 5 years, that, has been something that you've gone back to and you've played and you said, well, that was really good. That's worth a re-listen to. Like the stuff that and I not a lot for me. That's just me speaking personally. Maybe you guys' experience are different, but really nothing, that really sticks out in the last 5 years. So this fast food era music that we've fallen into really is detrimental to our mental health. Because again, as I pointed out, music plays a very, very critical role in your mental and physical well-being. Actually, that's how tied in, how we are connected with music in some form or another. We do all, we all don't enjoy the same kind of music. Fern, I said, Fern, what kind of music do you like? And he said, well, I like Celtic, you know, acoustic music or something like that, which is, I have no idea, or I might have a vague, passing idea of what that is, but it's not something that I dig, but it has an effect on him. He likes that. So there's that. That's one of the secret psychologies of music that you really, really, really should keep in the back of your mind at all times. Uh, in 020, hi, how what are you doing? Well, I'm sitting here having a live stream. Actually, that's a great question. It's a good time to take my halfway pause here to thank everybody for taking the time to watch this live stream. Whether you're watching it live now or in the rerun, I want to say thank you so much. And I want to say thank you so much to my community for always being here, always supporting this live stream. You guys are fantastic. And thank you so much. Earworms suck, Scott says, but are great, but suck. To this day, that damn locomotion song is stuck in my head. Yeah, yeah. Um, the Kali Minogue. I knew it was the Kali Minogue, not the Grand Funk Railroad. I knew that too. I just heard that because I was watching this Mark Devlin presentation, and he was talking about Kali Minogue, and that was one of the songs that he was talking about. That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. I kind of figured that. I made these kids, so I blame her. Yeah, it's corporate slop. Music companion 589. Welcome, sir. Says Metallica to Adelaide. Yeah, you know, I saw just now before I went on YouTube when I was trying to find that guy in that quote because I wanted to play it for you about you're only as intelligent as the music you take in. And hope I didn't get copyright swipe on it, but I couldn't find it. But I saw, um, oh God, Genie in a Bottle, whatever her name is, doing this number in Paris with dancers and a Christmas tree and singing a jazz standard. And I said, "What the hell am I looking at?" And you talk about corporate slop, that's the epitome of it to me. It really is. There's so much music in the underground, I don't agree with you. Well, I'm not talking about the underground. We are talking about, and by the way, we're talking about music in general, but in terms of the things that are put out, that the powers that be put out and promote, even if that power still exists, it doesn't. It's not as centralized as it used to be. But the quality is just not there. Doesn't change the fact underground music can affect you just as much as above ground music. And depending upon, and we're always exposed to the above ground music because they put it in TV commercials, they put it in Netflix shows, they put it in in supermarkets, everywhere. You're going to hear it somewhere. You're going to come in contact with it. Death asked life, "Why do people love you but hate me?" Then life answered, "Because I am a beautiful lie and you're an undeniable truth." Well, that's a very, 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 very interesting quote there. I like that one. Exposure to new music has, by the way, welcome Telex to the chat. Thank you for that one. I like that. I always like quotes like that. Exposure to new music has always seemed to be the crutch in the music industry. Every time I look in different markets, I find all kinds of great stuff. I agree with that. Hi, Mike. Hi, all. Cat's Music Journey. Welcome. Hi to you. I'm recently reading that Gen Zers are getting more deliberate about their music habits, getting iPods, Walkmans, and sets. Yes. Again, because I think that another psychological truth of the human psyche is that there's only so much gaslighting that you can do before we say, "Hey, we're good on the gaslighting." Um, I think that's why rap is falling off the charts because it just was in a death spiral with its content, its artistic direction. Everything was just going down the tubes, and people got tired of it, and the things that are associated with it. And yeah, and people want to get iPods and even cassettes and things like that, and then they want to go exploring and finding other music so that those can be the music moments of their lifetimes. A little bit better quality, I should think. Music Companion says, "It's like I tell my daughters pop music is, for the most part, is like junk food. Don't eat it for every meal." Yeah. You can enjoy it every now and then. I like, that song Mean by Taylor Swift. It is the one and only Taylor Swift song that I like, but it actually is a song that it's got a little depth to it. It's not exactly it's not exactly McDonald's. I put it more like Arby's. Is that an improvement? Yeah. Anyway, I tried. Um, but it is what it is, and it's okay, but it's not something that I would take in all the time. Mike, what's your opinion of fill-in band members like Gilby Clark and Dave Navarro? Um, well, then I guess we could add to that list Nikki Six. You know, um, you know, if you're talking about, I'm not trying to understand because you're understanding because in these cases, these are all what we call ringers. If that's what you're talking about, there's always been ringers in bands. I hung out with Gilby Clark for his 50th birthday. Sweet. He played a small dive bar, the Tiki Lounge in Southern California. I am vaguely familiar with that place. If I search my brain, I'll it'll come to me. But if that's what you meant, Scott, there's always been ringers in groups. Um, And sometimes, they'll play on stuff and won't get any credit too, but there's ringers in the studio. Yeah, Gilby is solid. He's solid, and that's why he's a ringer. That's the dude you want to call. I got the session, Gilby. You got a minute? You think you can swing by? Or Dave Navarro, or not? Did I say Nikki Six? Not Nikki Six, not the bass player. I'm sorry, Mickey Mars. Mars. Um, those are the guys that you would want to call because those are just solid, older than they look players. Well, not in the case of Mick Mars, but you guys know what I mean. So musicians say that music is done out of passion, out of artistic expression. That's true, but also the tone chase, the addiction to gear, can also be part of that cycle, um, chasing tone. This is kind of a side branch of tonight's talk, but it's kind of related in terms of psychology of it. The philosophy of this channel is I'm good, meaning that, I'm good where I'm at with an amp and a guitar, but I can be good with 20 guitars and 20 amps. But either way, I'm at a level where this is what I need in order to do what I got to do. And what happens is we get bored and we start switching pedals, start switching uh, speakers, we start switching tubes, pickups, strings. You know, we get bored, and we tell ourselves, that's the tone that that's what's missing in my tone in order to make it complete. So we go on this chase, and um, we get addicted to that dopamine spike of of getting something, thinking that it's going to be the end all to be all to our tone. Sometimes it is, but very rarely. And then 2 weeks later, you're on that hunt again. So it's a side track from the psychology of music. But if you're a musician, that's something to be aware of as well, because your brain, again, like I said, if it gets bored, it'll fool you into thinking that something sounds better than it does or different or whatever. When at the end of the day, it's probably just more of the same. You know, it's just one of those the psychology. You know, psychologists use these things, like I said, uh, in marketing, in order, and certainly in gear marketing, in order to get you hooked to buy that next piece of gear that you probably don't need, or you probably got something that would do just as well already. So that's another. It's a little sidetrack, but I wanted to really touch upon that. Cat's music journey. As long as the guitar is a Strat, the amp is a 5E3, I think I'll always be good. I agree. Do you know what I try lightly to get out of a rut? Yeah, turning up, changing your tuning on um, which song is that? Just another Ooh, my mama, just passing by. I did that on that song. Not only did I do a different tuning, but I used a capo as well. And the sound of that is unique. I haven't written a song, acoustic guitar, like song like that sounded like that then or since. And sometimes like that can change you. That can inspire you as well. I was in the mood of thinking about Joni Mitchell and how she uses alternate tunings. And I said, hey, you know what? Let me try that. So I did an alternate tuning and put a capo on it, and it inspired me immediately when I started playing. I was like, well, that sounds different. and I wrote that song. Just passing time. That's how I wrote that. Mike, was 70s brass nuts overhyped? Yeah, because the brass phase was goes part and parcel with the loud phase. Why everybody was pulling those, now, 25, $3,000 a pop, brushbuckers out of their Gibsons and putting in Duncans and everything else. But they also thought that it was the supposition that brass also made this, gave you value. So, um, just on a separate note, a lot of these lesser, less expensive guitars, usually some of those metal parts are really brass, just silver coated, you know. So, because brass is cheap. But I don't know if that makes a difference tonally, but that's where it comes, just like heavy brass, pull your pickups. That was all part and parcel of that time. Was it overhyped? Yeah. I mean, it was. I mean, that's really a matter of preference, isn't it? So yeah, I'd say it was overhyped. Greetings from Uzbek. I'm gonna try this. Uzbekistan. Boy, that's a mouthful. Welcome to you from Uzbekistan. Welcome to you. Yeah, guys. The tone chase is part of this too. They use the psychology of that to get into your head as a musician. They know this stuff. They already know that they can use nostalgia in order to pull people in musically. But they got to pull the musicians in tonally. You know, music is the soundtrack of our lives, someone once said, famously. And it is indeed a true statement. Again, some form of music or not, if it's, two people banging two rocks, whatever it is, it's something. Even in the Aboriginal tribes that we find in the various parts of the world, there's music there. Music can connect people. It can heal heartbreak, certainly. It can make bad days tolerable. The sun will come out tomorrow, bet your bottom dollar. We don't really listen to music for information. We listen to it to feel human. And when you separate that human element from the music, it's empty. It's empty, which is why AI music is empty. It's hollow. It's even worse. It's even worse than fast food because it's not even edible. Which I guess is quite similar to some fast food these days, from what I've been seeing. Um, I don't touch the stuff too much myself, but that's why AI music doesn't have that human element. We don't listen to music for information. We listen to it really just to feel human. And if you take the human element out of it, then what have you got? And where are they leading you with? That's a good thing that the Gen Zers are walking away from the table as far as that's concerned. I'm walking away, and I'm certainly not a Gen Zer. I walk away a long time ago, and I don't listen to the radio at all. By the way, guys, there is the only time that I'll catch the radio is if I'm in the store and they're playing whatever supermarket radio station they have. I don't listen to the radio in a car. I don't listen to it at home. I don't listen to the radio at all. I don't know what a lot of stuff is, you know, because I won't take it in. And this AI music trend, I think one of its major flaws is it has no human element in it whatsoever. So the psychology behind that, I think, should be even more alarming to you. If music is the soundtrack of your life and we listen to music in order to feel more human, what happens when the music that we're listening to is not created by humans? And what can, in knowing the psychology and being much, 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 much more smarter and faster at thinking than us than we can, what do you think the AI producer of the future is going to do with this knowledge and how they're going to use it in order to affect your feelings, your moods, or your opinions? Kit Kats, you waiting a straightener? Don't know what that means, man. My hair is pretty curly, so a straightener is not going to work. Good job. Good luck with this. Thank you very much. I appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much for showing up. I don't listen to the radio anymore either, Michael says. Mike, do you ever meet Bill Weathers? Ain't no sunshine when she's gone. No, no. I wish I had. Um, Music Companion says radio pretty much died after 9/11. Yeah. So many stations started to have automatic DJs. Yeah. Yeah. It's when, it really is when the Communication Act went through. And that was that Bill Clinton who did that? When the Communications Act went through, that was the end of radio. That was the end of it. A lot of things too, by the way. It was the beginning of the end of the system, the old system. Um, yeah, and they're gradually slipping in this AI music into the mainstream. The number one single on the Christian music charts was an AI artist recently singing a gospel song. That is so disturbing. If you guys knew the things that I that I think about AI, that it's beyond words. And the fact that people didn't care, they didn't care. What frequency are you tuned to? I think is really what that comes down to. So there's that. And I really think that if we, a world without music, it really isn't silent, you know, it's just empty and missing something. Like, obviously, the soundtrack of your life is music. What happens if if there was no music? I would say there would be a very empty world. So we can see from this, the importance of music. All of us, there's some piece of music, some childhood thing, going through our lives, who was on the radio when you got laid, or, all of those things, are going to be in the back of your mind as you grow older. You're walking down the street and somebody will sing Roxanne, and you'll be like, oh, yeah, it'll take you somewhere. So we have to be very, very careful how we guard ourselves and our children, against certain kinds of music. Because I don't have any kids, but you know what I mean. Children are families. You just, and yourself, starting with yourself. If you as an adult are taking in this low vibration and cut and paste, corporate crap, slop, fast food music, and that's what you're listening to all the time, you got your kids strapped in the back seat next to you, then they're going to grow up affected by that. See, I'm lucky because my father listened to classical music a lot and jazz a lot. So as a young boy, I was influenced by very sophisticated music as a very young boy. I doubt many of the people who are presented as, the best on the charts uh, have that depth, really, from the kind of product that they're putting out. If they did, they sure damn well are hiding it pretty good. Because it's certainly not reflected in the work of their hands. Scott says, I have my dad's old shortwave radios. Yeah, man. I used to love that instead of tuning into a music station, I was tuning into a city. Yeah, man, that's cool. That's cool. There was a big shortwave radio boom in the early 70s. It's one of the reasons why Radio Shack was big because you go down to Radio Shack like I did to buy your shortwave radio. And of course, or you could buy a kit and build one yourself. So yeah, yeah, I have that. I kind of have that. Scott put a link up here, guys. Take a look at that link. Call the police. You guys all hit that with a like and go over to Scott's channel and take a listen to that. I'm going to listen to it as soon as we're off here live. Thank you, Scott, for posting that link. We would all check it out. Yeah, just dig that, guys. Just think about that. Guard your mind. Guard your mind to the music that you listen to, you know, what you take in. Just like you do with your body. You don't go out there and, eat garbage out of the garbage can. So why would you listen to it through your ears? You know, if you're a health nut, but you're listening to, rap music, I just don't see how that works because your body might be healthy, but your brain is not. And I know I keep knocking on rap music. I don't hate rap music. I like Then there's independent rappers out there, especially on Bandcamp, one that I was listening to, where it sounded like, old school rap to me. It was clean, it was catchy, it was well thought out and well produced. Not saying all of it, but pretty much a big 90% of it is pretty bad. The corporate slop. And it's designed, in my opinion, in order to dumb down people. There's just no other, I hate to say it, it's true. And if you're listening to that all day long, boom, dude, if you're listening to it, I don't care if you're listening to that. I'll say the same thing about rave music. If you're listening, if you're listening all day long, that's going to have an effect on you, your psyche, without question. Without question. You know, check out Radio Garden. It's a world radio stations. You can select radio stream all over the world. I will check that out. As a matter of fact, let me copy that and put that note there so that I remember that. Thank you, Music Companion. I will. Mike, what in bad performance can't be fixed by producers and engineers? Uh, you can fix almost anything in the mix. Because if there's something that happens that's bad, you can always dip that down and bring something up, especially if you got automatic faders. You can cut a part out. If it's a vocalist and they're flat, you can tune it. If it's something completely these days, there's nothing with the tools that are out there now. There's nothing that can't be repaired, that can't be fixed. That I could think of. Back in the day when we were recording to tape, those are some of the tricks that we did to hide a bad performance. But these days, there's nothing that can't be fixed. I used to use TuneIn. Yeah, there's a lot of things, software out there now that you can use to fix just about everything. Again, some of this AI software, whereas it is an amazing thing to see, but would I want to use it? No, no, no. I'm not interested. But there is that, guys. Guard your minds, guard your ears, guard your eyes as well. We take in food through the mouth, we take in sound through the ears, and we take in light through the eyes. So, you should be careful. You're worried about what you're eating. You should also be worried about what you're listening to as well. I think most of the people here tonight, don't have to really worry about that. But it is something to keep in the back of your mind, and maybe something you might want to mention to friends or family. Hey, I noticed you listen to a lot of this stuff. Maybe you might want to change the channel, or better yet, just turn it off for a minute. Hansky says, "I'm worried about everything, bro." Well, don't worry. There's nothing to worry about. To tell you the truth, worrying doesn't help you. Matter of fact, worrying is a waste of time. Now, I had to put a dollar in the jar, but that's what Yoda is talking about in Star Wars when he's talking about worrying, because worry leads to hate, hate leads to anger, and anger leads to the dark side. It leads you to a dark place that you don't want to go. I We all worry about things, but in my case, if I worry about things, then really that's a lack of faith on my part. Now, I look at it that way. I don't know how you look at it, but try not to. People don't have a third eye anymore. Yeah, I think the pineal gland, in esoteric terms, whenever you see an acorn in a drawing or in a crest for a building or something like that, that's referring to the gland or the so-called third eye. And I do believe, and Dick Gregory used to talk about that a lot. He used to talk about foods and things that are used in order to cloud that pineal gland and make it so that it does not work. That's actually a real thing. Literally everybody who doesn't listen to Tool or Greta Van Fleet. I saw this video on YouTube the other day, man. They were just ragging on Greta Van Fleet, ragging on him. It's like, he said, "Man, I would wear a Nickelback T-shirt before I wore a Greta Van Fleet T-shirt." That's how bad it is. That cracked me up. You know, they wouldn't own up to their Zeppelin roots. No, Zeppelin? Who's Led Zeppelin? We've never heard of that. Like, what are you talking about? You you're coming across like Led Zeppelin light, and you're trying to tell everybody you don't know who Led Zeppelin is. That's a big mistake. Uh, yeah, you come across as like Hanson cosplaying Led Zeppelin, aka Greta Van Fleet. you know, so that cracked me up. That cracked me up. I like that first tune that they came out with, but it was exactly the kind of corporate slop that I'm talking about. I haven't gone back and listened to it. The first time I heard it, I said, "This is very Led Zeppelin." It takes me back because it was supposedly be aimed to guys like me. Like, oh wow, we finally got some young guys who are out there bringing back the good stuff. But as it came across to me, it came across as again, like I said, Hanson cosplaying Led Zeppelin, and I think just about everybody else as well. Did you see the video of Robert Plant rolling his eyes? Well, yeah, yeah, I saw that one because he's like, "So you're gonna take my shtick, and you're not even gonna give me any credit for it?" Am I familiar with Uncle Acid and the Deadbeats? No, no, I'm not. That sounds like a ska band from the '80s. Um, no, I'm gonna look that up. Just like John Lennon joined Black Sabbath in 1970. That sounds good. That sounds like right up my alley. You guys are dropping a lot of stuff tonight. I'm gonna have to mark this chat so that I can look up all this stuff that you guys are dropping on me tonight. Yeah, that sounds like something I'd like to hear. I like Black Sabbath. I like John Lennon, despite what I know about him, but I like John Lennon. So yeah, that sounds like my kind of stuff. Oh, here we go. Got a link. Thank you, Scott. Uncle Acid Million. I'm check that out too. Guard your ears, guys. Guard your ears. As much as you guard your health in terms of what you eat, guard your ears. Be careful. And your eyes as well, because like I said, they use the eyes with the videos in order to entice you with a new guitar, a new pedal, and it's your eyes first and then your ears. Actually, interesting with gear. Check that. I was forcing myself to listen to new music 10 years ago, but they never broke out. Ruby the Hatchet, Person. Yeah, there's a lot, like I said, s- and the things that did break out, it's like, you know, it's like, and a last thought. If you guys don't believe that the music and the powers that be use nostalgia and catch in order to leave you in a state of infantilism, ask yourself, why is it that Eminem and Jack White were doing the halftime show for that Super Bowl? Ask yourself that question. You know, what's that about? Why isn't it whoever the new act is? Why are we reaching back 20, 20, 25, 30 years, man? Why are we doing that? It's appealing to your infantilism, as Freud put it, that aspect of your id. And they are in firm control of it with a lot of people. Do not be those people. Do not let them do that to you. Keep it always in the back of your mind. Mind control starts small. Yes, indeed. Indeed. All right, guys. Thank you so much for tuning into this short discussion tonight about the secret psychology of music. Well, not so short, an hour long discussion on this topic tonight. Really enjoyed having each and every one of you here and joining in the chat and putting your 2 cents in and giving me some stuff to listen to and check out. I always appreciate that. Um, yeah, you know, I hope you guys like tonight's subject. As much as I enjoyed bringing it to you, pulled this one out of my butt today. But actually, the more that I think about it and go through my notes here, the more it actually has a strong, bottom warning, or it's got a backbone to it. So hope you enjoyed it, and I will check you guys out for Sunday at Mike's. See you then.